Hey y'all, welcome back to the Oriway podcast. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Gabriel. Here we rise, begin and appear as image bearers of Jesus Christ. So glad to have you for another episode.
Yes, guys, welcome back again.
Our anniversary just passed.
It did 6 years.
And
6 years.
How is it for you? How would you say?
You know, it wasn't exactly what I expected.
Yeah.
It wasn't as I knew I was gonna stumble with this word.
Celebratory
as I would have liked. But you know, that's okay. That's okay. We have 2 kids, third on the way.
Yeah.
And a lot going on, so it's okay.
And you know what's crazy? So definitely okay kids, but like we've gotten so accustomed to that. It's the lot going on that really took so much more time than we thought. Like, it's funny, even like last week we were like, okay, we're we tried to do this episode last week, but
I had it planned and set, but it couldn't
with
happen.
Everything else that we had to do between like commissions and like had a performance, it was dope. But so we tried. We made it special with our attitudes. The love was in the room. But this episode, we wanted to talk about 6 things that we've learned over 6 years of marriage. Yeah.
Of course, we learned a whole lot more than that, but we wanted to narrow it down.
We've diluted it to six key ones, at least that were special and in a way pretty daily for us as a family.
Yeah.
So the first one, I think is going to be mine, and it is... Baby, what is it? I forgot.
Yours is being heard is easier when you're speaking the same language.
Being heard is easier when you're speaking the same language.
Yes.
Now, and it's so funny. So when I said that, I was thinking about on multiple fronts. You know, there's that whole angle of love languages and making sure that you're presenting yourself or your acts of kindness, however you communicate your love, make sure it's in a way that can even be received by the partner. But for this one, I feel like what's become so important for our family, even more, I feel like we're growing in this way, but it's how we speak.
For sure.
Like, not just the tone that we have towards each other, but speaking from strength.
Right.
Speaking out of tiredness, speaking just how
Hope.
You speak. Exactly. And so I think the best example I can think of was there was a time where Brittany things would be tough, you know, as they've been tough, and we didn't always respond out of strength. And I noticed that whenever I wasn't responding out of strength in a way that was still genuine, you know, I didn't feel like it gave the desired result. Like I didn't really feel like I know you heard what I said, but do you feel me though? You know, it was some of those moments, and vice versa too. Like there were times where I really wanted Brittany to speak strength into me, and it's incredible how far we've come, because as you've taken on motherhood too, I feel like it's really enhanced how you speak and strengthen me even as a wife. You know, like juggling those 2 roles, it can feel at times that they're in conflict with each other, or it's a lot to juggle, but I feel like it's definitely complemented.
It is,
like your wifing, in the sense that you really do. I feel like you've just gotten better at strengthening me with the way that you talk at times. Whenever I just like I get scared, because I look at bills sometimes and I see where we're at and where we're not at, and I'm at odds with, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm at odds, but my flesh is at odds with what God said, and I'm seeing things fall into place. But still, like when you just read a letter and a bill and you know that you don't have the supply yet at hand now, and somehow you're still here and like everything is still working, but anxiety can definitely can definitely weigh down. And so there are times where she just spoke strength into me, and I heard it, because honestly, in this season, we've been speaking so much more of that language, of that nature,
right.
like where we've been speaking at those heights. And so whenever I feel like dragged down by a situation, even though my attitude might have taken a hit, or my ego really might have taken a hit, she really has maintained that height and that depth of speech in her attitude, and just the way that she can uplift, and it renews me. And it's been like a real blessing. Yeah.
And I just want to say that it would be so much harder to hear that encouragement in such a low moment, or a moment of doubt or fear, such as not having money to pay bills, if you're not already walking together in that realm of encouragement and support and hope, and really believing in God's promises more often than not. You know, you live a lifestyle of actually believing the promises that God has spoken to you. And, you know, he's given us so much vision, very clear vision of what he's doing in our lives and what he has for us. And a lot of it doesn't look so tangible right now. You know, it still feels like we're waiting for certain things that he has already promised us, and it doesn't align with those kinds of things, such as bills and things that aren't met yet. And so that fear, or those moments of doubt, can, you know, there's the temptation to stay there if we were not walking already in this lifestyle of true belief and true seeking the Lord, and true, hearing from the Lord, and knowing that he has us and he's guiding us, and, you know, he's already taken care of this stuff. It would be so much harder for him to hear my words of encouragement than, you know, we're used to hearing this. You know, we're used to hearing this not only from each other, but from the Lord himself. And so in that moment, it's easier for you to hear me when I speak words of encouragement in such a hard, real moment.
To hear and receive.
Right.
You know, like you speaking about that kind of reminded me of, you know, in Genesis, we look at the Tower of Babel and how it was built. You know, this is post the flood, and it makes sense at this point that all the world was speaking the same language, because it wasn't so many generations before the flood happened, and then Noah and his 3 sons and their wives repopulated the entire earth. And so you have this scenario where, like, the entire world is basically able to communicate with itself, and then you have the converging of a body of people, and they collide with it's not even that they collided, they harmonized with vision. And it really exposed the power of agreement as a principle in the Bible, because, like, the Lord looked down and he saw what it was that they intended to do. It's like they you find out in fruition, they never finished building the city, and yet it says when God looked down, he saw the city. And so he saw what it was that they had already visualized, and
he saw that nothing would be impossible for them.
Literally said that
with their vision and collaboration together.
And I think it was in hindsight, like looking at that scripture, that it really struck me that they were all speaking the same language.
Yes.
Like, in fact, it's the Lord frustrating that with giving them all different languages that even stopped the work.
Right.
And so
I just like, can you imagine that really quick? Like hundreds and thousands of people together. Yes. All seeing the same vision and all speaking the same language about the completion of that vision. And so you can imagine the workflow just being so much easier.
So humble, so fluid.
Yes, so fluid,
seamless.
Getting things done fast, being able to move on to the next thing. And he says in that chapter that he knew whatever they were set out to do, they would complete.
It was going to be accomplished.
Nothing was impossible for them. And then you can imagine, you know, here and now, so many of us speak so many different languages. And if you ever had that experience of speaking to someone that speaks a different language that you don't understand, or maybe you understand some of it, but you can't hold a conversation. I know me. I'm Puerto Rican, but I don't speak Spanish well. I understand the basics, and I could say a good amount. But now you start having a deep conversation with me, and I'm going to lose you, and I'm not going to be able to speak back to you in Spanish, you know, and have a full conversation. So I definitely couldn't, you know, build something huge with you unless...
Like even practically speaking.
Yeah.
Right?
Unless we spent a lot of time together and I actually learned the language.
You won't even be able to have a fully conceptualized image of the vision.
Right.
Literally, you're excluded.
Right. I wouldn't be able to see it I wouldn't be able to see it entirely. I'd be missing some things.
Yeah. And that's incredible, because while we speak the same language, like literally in English, there's such a spiritual element to that as well. Like
it goes beyond what comes out of our mouth and off our tongue.
Out of the abundance of your heart, the mouth speaks.
Yes.
And so it's like at that point, speaking the same language is a heart posture.
Yes.
I think that's where we were going to go.
Yes.
I think that's where we needed to go with that one. Yeah, it's a heart posture. And
it's a huge part of it.
And having the same heart posture, like being like together in that, it is so, because it's interesting to think about that. Like as far as like the them building the structure, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden they stopped being human and they had no issues or disagreements.
Right.
It's that vision was already set so assuredly in their hearts that there's a way through every temptation to be sad or angry or rage. There's a way through all of that, and vision ensures that that the momentum is kept, so that you don't lose time like getting caught and stagnant in a place and then having to generate all that up over and start again.
Can you remind yourself of the vision, and do you care about the vision enough that when there's moments where you don't feel like you care about it, or you know it's just so hard to accomplish, or it looks impossible, or you know you have doubt, you have fear, or it's just a lot of hard work that you know you don't really want to work in that moment when you should be working. You know, you may not want to work every day at it
tonight,
but but can you remind yourself of the vision and muster up enough care in those hard times to keep working,
to remain consistent?
To keep working to complete, or at least successfully enter into that vision.
Bring that, birth it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to number 2. Well, actually, it would be your number 1, right?
Yeah, I mean, but it's number 2.
All right, number 2.
Okay, so number 2 is read into where your partner pours into you as an invitation to reciprocate. Yeah, this one, I thought of this one because Gabe does so much for me. So much. You do. And not just for me, but for the boys around the house. And I mean, all that is for me too. And
my love language is action.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
It's become that, I feel.
No, for sure. Like I it translates like that for me.
Yeah.
And I'll just say as a male too, because it's so much, I can measure that, you know, like, I don't know, like they say like males have the focus of a dog and a bone. And I think that level of focus comes with, a system that creates assurances. And I say that with, if I act in this way, and I help my wife in these ways, and I help my children in these ways, like there's going to be tangible results, and I can look around and I can see what my love has created. I can touch, I can feel it. Like I can walk through a clean room and it can really bless. Right.
And even though it will like definitely bless and definitely give you something back, I still have to be mindful to give as much as I can back, you know, because we can take each other for granted for sure. And we can take each other's efforts and care and even sacrifice for granted. But I never want to take all that he gives, all that he pours out for granted, you know? And so that requires a constant, you know, evaluation of what he's doing, you know, because you may not realize how much effort it took for that person to do something, even something as quote unquote simple as washing the dishes. It may not seem like much because you're used to having to get that done as a family, you know, to daily duty. Yet, you know, he may wake up not feeling so well. You know, he may not be emotionally well, you know, or spiritually well. And so maybe him going to wash the dishes may look like it's like, you know, helping him think in that moment. But it might actually be deep. Hard. But it, you know, he may actually be going through. And so
that's funny.
It was tough for him in that moment, you know, that, and this could be anything.
Right.
But it's to say that you never know, you know, how much the person has to go through, to give and to pour out and to sacrifice for you or for the family, even if it benefits themselves as well. You know, it still could take so much. And so it's important that we evaluate that and take those things that they give as notes on what to pour back to them. Because sometimes it could be, you know, what we give could be like a cry of what we want. You know, it could be us trying to be an example of more of what we want to see, more of what we want. And yeah.
So while you were talking to, I guess two things came to mind. And the first one is, you know, whenever you have any household, people definitely fall into their roles of responsibility. That's just the way that things move efficiently, and it's the way that hopefully it's done in harmony and respect and appreciation, so that everybody's work is respected. But
sorry, are you gonna remember if I say something?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No. You got it.
It just made me think about. Sometimes it's not even about giving the same thing back.
Girl, don't take
Is
my
that
idea.
What you're gonna say?
My idea. I had a whole prep. I had a whole prep. You know, I was gonna say, you know, whatever. You ruined it. No, you didn't ruin it. I was gonna say the exchanges aren't always apples to apples. Yeah. Sometimes they're apples to oranges.
Yeah.
But
you said it.
Okay, I said it, and what I was gonna, girl,
I'm sorry. See, because we're one. I just can't believe
you said the same thing.
Because we're one, you know, we're connected.
What else was you gonna say?
I think I mean, that was really it. That was the point. But it's to say that
have
you know
that flexibility.
I mean, you say it a lot. You will say, you know, no, like I want to do this so that you have more room to do this. You know, more room for
you bringing that thing forward.
For you to do what all these things that you got to do.
Cause like I feel like we've united our separate fronts to a mutual vision. Yes. Like we definitely have our own areas of expertise. Like I'm growing in music aside from whatever she's doing, and she's growing.
But it's still all part of the mutual vision.
Exactly. So we have like our roles, and yet, oh shoot, I think I forgot it.
No, you got it. You got it.
Oh. That we're just gonna move on.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Well, either way, it's very easy to feel like we have a moment to relax because the other person, you know, did something that we could have gotten to as well. Or, you know, they're getting so much done, or they're giving so much that it's like, oh, thank you, I can relax now. And not to say that, you know, that's not good. Like, giving to each other so that the other person can have a break, can relax, is great, and that should definitely happen. But sometimes, or even a lot of the time, we give to each other so that it could feed the other person to continue growing,
and
giving.
And there's times like where you've done that and it's really said so clearly to me, you believe in what I'm doing. Because
that is what it does.
No, for real. Like there are times where I disappear into my work, and we're all in like the same small house. Okay. So when I say disappear, I mean like I don't pay attention to the kids anymore. and you know, it goes a little over the time. Mm-hmm. And Brittany just, she stays strong. And when I say stay strong, like she assesses what's happening in that moment and says, yes, you do have that time. You are allowed to have that time.
Yeah.
And it's like when I'm finished and greatness has come, I'm that much more appreciative, because a lot of the work that we do, we need lengths of time.
Yeah.
Whenever we're to really like capitalize on momentum and really flesh out even just the bare bones of whatever idea. And so when she gives me that space, you know, I feel like that's an apples to oranges example of an exchange that really blesses and communicates even more to me. Like, because like at the heart of most of the actions that I do, most of the things that I take over, I simply don't want them to take up your time. I mean, there's some things that like each of us would do that would just take the other person longer, but a lot of what I do, I don't even want you to have to worry about that. Like I don't want no detergent touching them hands. Like you need to be careful with the brush strokes. Like you need to be careful. And so you really reciprocate that same heart posture with when I'm working and I need that space, right, and like I need that time, you give of it freely. And it's funny, like I said freely, but it's absolutely not without sacrifice, right, because our kids be screaming.
But it is because I believe in your work. And I think it's so beautiful that you said that, because we may not realize how much that could give to the other person as far as encouragement, support, someone,
I needed that.
Yeah, someone believing in you and what you're doing
with their actions.
Yeah, so that's cool. That's
set really it up.
Good job.
Oof, it's a tough one. It's emotional.
Right. So you want me to read or do you want to read it? Your next one. Okay. So
number 3. Oh, that's intense. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Well, if that ain't gonna get some gumption.
I think about that very often. Because I kind of feel like guilty about this one. I really do.
It's conviction. It's full conviction.
It is. Yeah. Whenever I'm not doing something, I know, like, to my full capacity or well enough, or I'm ignoring something.
And the thing about that is that we've been living in such a way where we're constantly inching forward in our maturity and our control of a lot of what we do artistically, and so we're constantly getting better. And so there's the temptation to not keep pushing the boundaries. Like if I've already achieved a level of greatness and like I have so many other things to do, like I gotta think about the kids. Oh, I'm trying to go to a conference. Oh, I gotta work on this art. Oh, I need a cover photo. Oh, or on her end, just a litany of things to get done. It's absolutely, it's way more automatic to repeat what you've done and still have it be great because you've achieved that level, rather than to push the boundary just a little bit more and exercise a heart of greatness.
Yeah, that's really good. That's like the higher standard of this.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I even
think of like just smaller things that I'm doing throughout the day. Where I'm not putting as much effort, or like I said, like I'm ignoring something. I think about how I could be treating like the more important things, or the things that I do care about that way. Like even the things that I really care about or I'm passionate about, am I not going as hard, on those things, or could I be ignoring something I should be doing for that thing I'm passionate about?
I've seen you dog tired after like pulling almost an all-nighter and waking up to make breakfast for the kids, and yet still somehow finding the way to read a book to them or to do flashcards. Like we try and pour into them educationally with consistency, like right. And it's not just flashcards, it's also how you speak to them. It's let's see how long me and you can run this conversation. Like even if I don't know what you're saying, it's so much of like the kids talking is them communicating what's in their heart with babble and with then some coherent words.
It's so cute.
Yeah, but like clearly they know what they're thinking. They know what
they're saying, right?
Feeling.
And what they're thinking, what they're feeling. But I'm like, what'd you say? But still keeping the conversation going. Yeah, you're right.
And you've been. I've just seen you really shine in those ways.
And I appreciate that.
It exemplifies that.
I appreciate that because sometimes I really don't feel that way, but it does take that mental awareness of how I speak to them is how I'm speaking to myself, and how I'm speaking into their future, and how I'm speaking to my husband, and. It speaks to how I care about them, and then how I care about myself, and then it all connects. Everything connects, and everything that we do directly affects something else or someone else. And so that's why I'm constantly thinking about this, like how you do something is how you do everything, right? That's exactly how it's said.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Or how you do anything is how you do everything. That's why I'm constantly thinking about it, because even something as simple as how you speak or how you react to someone or something is, can directly affect how you treat others out in the world, how you treat your work, how you treat something you love. And it directly affects your future and the future of those around you. And
that'll definitely hold you accountable to how you respond to disappointment.
Yes.
Like one of the phrases I would kneel heavy on would be, I don't care. And I think, I mean, from like teenager to even like the first 2 years of our marriage, whenever I'd be brought to that level of frustration, I don't care. And it had come off so automatically. And, with this phrase in mind, even the places in your heart and in your mind where you've been stretched as far as it'll go, and even sometimes where it snaps, there's still got to be just a level of, I'm gonna say like self-control. I don't always interact with my children happily, but what I will say is I always try to do it lovingly. And I think that would be the common thread for this. How you do anything is how you do everything. So do everything with love, because you don't always have the joy and the exuberance. I don't listen. If I pick both of them up and like I'm jumping and running around the house and like they love it, but they don't know like that. I just finished going hard, like scrubbing the tub. Like they don't know that. And so, but a lot of these actions are born out of love. And then especially too, like even more so how you transition out of those happy times with them, because they'll be discontent and they'll start screaming. And it never ceases to amaze me that they can go from screaming, screeching. I'll say screeching because it's not at that point, it's not screaming. They go from screeching to, hi, Dada. Oh, hi. I'm like, you, like, what?
Walk out of the house, come back, and you'll get a hi.
Oh, hi. You just went to throw the trash away, and I came back.
They say it just like that. It's so cute.
Yeah.
Hi, mama.
So do everything with love.
Yeah, that really speaks to your attitude. And even when you've been stretched to your limit, even when something's so hard or you're so exhausted, you still have to have a level of grace and I forget what you said, but anyway,
I'm gonna say
love, a level of grace,
compassion,
and a level of love for yourself and for those around you, enough to not just throw it all away or just throw all of your.
I don't care. Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
just take the kids.
Because that will directly, it will seep into other areas. Like you have that attitude one place, you're definitely gonna be able to do that, have that same reaction again somewhere else when something else happens, when something else hard happens. So it definitely requires being aware of your attitude in many different circumstances, especially those that are really hard. How do you react? Yeah.
How do you react?
Yeah, that's good.
Selah. Think about it.
All right.
Number 4.
Number 4 is happiness comes naturally when sacrifice is a part of your lifestyle.
Okay.
So I feel like this definitely relates to a lot of what we're saying.
So what I was thinking about was that with that, was that, because I think that was you, but with whatever that made me think of, it brought me to seasons and respecting that there's a time for sowing and there's a time for reaping. Can you read it one more time too?
Yes. So happiness comes naturally when sacrifice is a part of your lifestyle. Especially
in parenting.
For sure.
I think
even just in marriage without kids.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah. Like I feel like marriage was an example of it. Parenting gave me another perspective.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it took me, I think, I don't know, maybe like a half year to fully accept and render patience to our new life as parents and married folk, because it literally reshaped everything that we were doing. Yeah. And the thing, I think like the real difficult part about it was the fact that change was so necessary. Because I like routine in a way. I like, exactly.
You were accustomed to routine.
Yeah. Or accustomed to, like, when I've said something the way I like, it's because I like it that way. So I don't need it to change. But with parenting, so many things needed to change. And so I needed to really settle my heart and my mind into the fact that you are now in a season of raising like new humans, like brand spanking new humans that will inch along being able to take care of their own selves. And if you don't have that level of, if you can't find peace or that peace, then you're going to be at odds with every single sacrifice that you make.
That's good.
It's like taking what is a burden of greatness and it becoming a yoke over your neck.
That's so good.
Suffocating your movements.
Yeah, and I can speak to that. I follow so many moms on YouTube, and I had this since being pregnant with Jonah. Really, I've created like this community of mothers and women that I look up to and learn from, can follow, and it's such a important topic of how the woman sets and the wife sets the atmosphere in the house. And it's so important that we realize that, and obviously we can all affect the atmosphere in any given space, but it's part of the role of the wife and the mother to set the atmosphere in the house and really maintain the atmosphere in the house. And so if, you know, I have to cook 3 times a day or more for our family to eat, and I don't really want to, I don't care to, but I do it anyway because I have to, so that we can all eat. And, you know, I do it with a bad attitude. Not only is the food not going to taste as great,
salty.
We laugh all the time funny. Because it's so crazy how this happens. If I'm not in a good mood or I'm just like uncomfortable,
it's not all the time.
But it's not all the time.
You've been
but it's
sometimes.
Hilarious when it happens. I can't help but laugh because even though it's sad, when I'm not in a good mood and I cook anyway, it a lot of the time comes out salty. And he's like, damn, you must have been salty making this. It's hilarious to me because it's such a tragedy, right, when something's too salty or not flavorful enough.
You can't.
But if it's not flavorful enough, like it's more likely you can fix that rather than something being salty. It's like gone.
Wow.
And so that's a good point. You know, if you're walking around, you know, doing the things that you have to do for your family, but you're doing it with a salty attitude,
Jesus.
you're creating a salty atmosphere and that no one will want to be in, you know?
Truthfully.
Like, okay, thank you for doing the dishes or thank you for cooking, but like damn, like I don't want it if it's going to be like that, you know?
I don't want it if it's going to be like that. That's
so
funny.
Yeah,
that's really not funny. No, it's funny in hindsight.
It's funny now,
but like,
right?
It's so sad when it happens.
Is.
Because it's aggravating.
It is.
It
directly affects the mood of those around you. It directly affects their spirits, you know, how they're thinking, what they could be thinking about. You know, someone else could immediately start thinking in a negative pattern just because of the way you're talking, or not even talking, how you're moving around. You know, you could be like huffing and puffing while you're doing something, and that will
and your child starts copying you.
Our children, I swear, we say like half of each day they're huffing and puffing, and I'm like, dang, what did I do? Mad. He's not even mad. But then sometimes, so Jonah, our oldest, is constantly saying, oh dear, oh dear, oh no, and I'm like,
we say it like once,
right? We'll say something once, and it's like now they're repeating this all day, every day.
That's so funny.
And I'm like, damn, what did I do? How do I reverse this? And so it just shows that, you know, you may not be doing something intentionally, or you may not be aware, but if you're not aware of how you're thinking, how you're walking, how you're doing things, how you're sacrificing, because this is what we're saying,
being at peace with those sacrifices.
Yes, being at peace with all of the different types of sacrifices that you do willingly, or you know, you do because you feel this is what you got to do. How you do it directly affects those around you, and especially for kids, it will teach them something that may not be beneficial for them, or that they may not have wanted, but it's just because of it, they saw it, you know, that they feed off of it too. Even as adults, I'm sorry, just the last thing I say. Even as adults, we become who we're around the most. This is very true, and I've been aware of this.
The influence is strong.
Yes, this has been something I've thought of for years, and I've cut people off my whole life because of this, because it's such a natural and spiritual thing that you start thinking the way that those around you start thinking, you start speaking the way those people start speaking, even if you don't agree with what they're thinking or what they're saying or what they're doing, even if you don't like it, it's gonna happen regardless. You spend enough time around that person, you're naturally gonna start thinking the way they think, doing the things that they do, speaking the way that they speak. And so we act on these sacrifices with a positive attitude or a negative attitude, those around us will reciprocate the same thing.
Yeah. And even if it's not, again, apples for apples in that way, it can come off with a whole nother flavor. Maybe even not in that moment, later on.
Yeah.
There was one, while you were talking, it really made me think about how man is made in God's image. And man is made in God's image in that man has dominion in this realm.
Yes.
And when you have dominion, a poverty mindset of dominion will make you think that responsibility is a burden.
Right.
But dominion yields fulfillment.
Yes.
And in fulfillment, you have joy.
Yes.
And with joy, you have all kinds of happiness. It's
it is
like transitory.
Why the Bible says his yoke is lighter. It may seem like what God is calling you to do is so much work, and it can be so much work.
Yeah.
But it could seem like it's such a heavy burden. It's too much for you to do, but he doesn't give us more than what we can handle. And, you know, as much as we may think that it's the harder thing to do, it's the harder way to go, it will be much harder if you decide to do your own thing, your own way. And, that's what I'd
definitely
say. His yoke is truly lighter.
Don't despise the little things.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of little things that, you know, I have to do throughout the day that I really, at a point, I feel like I'm inundated with a whole bunch of just annoying side missions and chores that really are eating away at the time that I need to spend building what's going to make this family rich. And the truth is that you ought to have dominion over all of it.
Yes.
And again, that just comes with a level of maturity in your posture and in your spirit.
Yes.
And I mean, I've prayed, definitely pray over yourself for the grace to be able to manage what he has blessed you with. Because when you don't have the grace to manage something, you fumble it. You fumble it in so many ways.
And you will go through unnecessary pain and unnecessary unhappiness.
Arguments, bitterness.
Yeah.
Like, forget unhappiness. Like, there will be bitterness. Another, while you were talking about that, it made me think about how sometimes when you've had, like, you know, you've been brought to frustration, it can, at its worst, I can receive it as an insult. Because, you know, like you said earlier, you have no idea what I had been going through, and yet I'm still toughing through, and like I may not have a smile on, but at least like I'm controlling my sighs or my eyes, my attitude. I'm trying, and it's, at least it's working in this way. But yet to see you, you know, when you've met a moment of weakness, I can absolutely, if I'm in my feelings, I can find that insulting. That, oh, wow, you could, like, look how much I'm going through, and I'm still at least like holding the line inside, you know, like because there are absolutely times where everybody in the house has been brought to like the tip of that, to the knife's edge. Like we're all done. There's tension in the air, and it's so crucial that you maintain a level of dignity. I've fallen enough times to I think two things: respect the consequences of acting outside of that character, you know, when you've been brought to your end, and also the blessing that comes with having the grace to maintain your composure. Because whenever you make it through something, you always come out stronger, and that stronger is like a sigh of relief.
Yes.
Like I thank God that I prayed for grace, because grace brought me through, and having been brought through, not only am I strengthened in a new way, to a new level now, but I can look back and I can actually learn from what I went through. Like when you're huffing and puffing, when you're okay, and this is the last thing I'll say. when there's no real purpose and vision, because now I feel like things are like really threading together, like between our points. When there's no purpose and vision behind why you're sacrificing,
That's good. Yeah.
like you can't learn from it.
Yeah.
And you act aimlessly in it. And
Right.
acting aimlessly is frustration, because
Right.
there's confusion. You're beset with, how did you even enter into this circumstance? Like how am I even here? How was I brought here? And it's grace, the grace to manage something that as you work it through, like God is exposing you to supernatural wisdom and to understanding, so that the faith that you had in his way and the grace that he supplied are giving you a level head and an open ear to actually learn what he was teaching you through all of that. Because through every single trial or adversity that you face, there's absolutely something that God is trying to edify you with, to teach you, to build, even as a testimony, one that you can tell and teach and share with others to build them up.
That's good, because it's not only having sacrificing in a way where you are maintaining your composure and keeping a positive attitude through the struggle that directly creates greater happiness, but darn it, look at me forgetting now too. It's what you just said. What did you just say again? Come on, help me. The last thing you just said.
Purpose.
Oh my gosh, babe.
Oh, sorry. It's late.
It's so late, guys. I'm sorry.
It's so late.
It's late. It's probably like 12 o'clock now.
Yeah,
we're tired.
We went from a weekend of revival, about to perform tomorrow.
Dang it, I really wanted to say that, though.
I know it was good.
That's
maybe it'll come back as we move on to point 5. Because a lot of this stuff is just like...
Okay, I remember.
Boom. Oh,
Growing. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Stay with me. So not just having a good attitude and keeping your composure directly increases happiness, but even the opportunities to grow within that struggle and learn from the struggles you are going through directly increases happiness. And it may not be
oh shoot, okay.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this was a good one. So even if it's not immediate, because you're still going through that learning process or that growing process, and it's tough, it may not result in immediate happiness, but it will, because you get to continue growing together as an individual. Yes. And so sacrifice when it comes to your composure and your attitude is super important with everything that you do, but even the willingness to learn through that struggle. And it may not be pretty, but if you are dedicated to learning and growing through those sacrifices and all of the challenges that come with it, it will yield more happiness within the family, within those you're around, even within yourself, because you're growing. Who doesn't want to keep growing?
Was it Proverbs 31 that you were reading to me, or was it 30?
It's Proverbs 31, babe.
I feel like you just described what it's like to live into it as a process.
Wow.
Yeah, no, because that was good. I was like, oh,
That's
girl,
beautiful.
You did it. I'm glad you got that back.
I kind of feel like I'm feeling the baby kick right now.
No.
Yeah. I know.
I mean, yes.
I had to say that because I haven't felt like I have felt the baby kick, and I'm like 4.5 months now, and I felt my 2 previous babies kick early, especially the last one. No, babe, you're not gonna be able to feel it.
Oh my God. Okay.
You're not gonna be able to feel it. You feel it, or like only I can feel it until probably like the last few months.
That's good news, y'all. That's good. We experienced that together. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's so crazy.
We're family.
We're family. Yeah, but anyway, we have two more.
Yeah, two more. Yeah,
two more. Okay, let's get through this. Okay, so
I pray y'all getting blessed. I'm getting blessed.
The fifth one is intimacy fits everywhere.
Oh, okay, that's what I said.
Is that how it ends?
I think that's what. Yeah, I think it fits everywhere. There's so many levels to that. There's so many levels. Where I really want to center that is, don't be afraid to invite Jesus any and everywhere. In fact, he desires to be with you through all of it. Mm-hmm. He knocks at the door and waits for somebody to answer.
Yes.
And there are so many situations that we get in to where I'll talk about myself real quick. One of my big hangups was when I would get angry, I'd be ensnared. There were some strongholds as far as what I felt I deserved. And like maybe it can even go back to the fatherhood that I didn't have. But either way, when I would get angry, it would be so hard to get out of it. Even to the point where early in our marriage, like I think I made it to maybe 2 days without talking to her.
Yeah.
Just
and same
way
for
beneath
me.
my own integrity now. But
yeah.
So as far as intimacy, the thing that guards intimacy is being able to be vulnerable. And I think earlier on, anger was such a safe place for me to be because I felt like I had been vulnerable and like that vulnerability had been breached. But you develop, as long as like you can manage to keep your heart tender, intimacy belongs everywhere.
Yes.
And Jesus he's a healer. He is a healer.
He is.
So don't give in to hardening your heart in any way as a routine. Be aware of where you are, and a lot of this is lived out. I mean, it's by God's mercy that he gives us the time and he aligns the experiences for us to live into the character and the likeness of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it kind of made another point to what I thought we were going to talk about there, but that's way more important.
I mean, let's and now let's talk about the love making part of it.
Okay. Okay, fine. To speak to that, because when you first said, I think you worded it as like, you can invite Jesus everywhere. Is that what you said? I immediately thought you can even invite Jesus in the bedroom, and you should. You should invite the Holy Spirit into the bedroom.
Boom.
And I kind of feel like this might be foreign to some people, because when you think of intimacy in the bedroom, you just think about you and your spouse. Yet, I can tell you, if you invite the Holy Spirit into all areas of intimacy, in all moments of intimacy, you will experience greater heights and greater intimacy with your partner, because the Holy Spirit is what unites you two and unites your spirits and guides your spirits as the one flesh that you're meant to be, as two people in covenant with each other.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I had been introduced to pornography as a teenager, and I don't want to get to like too much into it, but I carried it into the first 2 years. I think it was the first 2 years of our marriage. And it was always with a sense of guilt, but it was absolutely a snare. And when I say a snare, I mean Like I was vulnerable on so many different fronts, to like even to the point of anger. You get so vulnerable, you're in anger, like you stop talking to your wife. It's the best position that now the devil has to speak and usher in a form of coping, you know. But either way, I carried that into the first 2 years of my marriage, and I think by the third year, I was encouraged, along with another brother of mine in Christ, to release this thing. Yes. And I think it was, for anybody struggling with that now, find a brother or a sister that you can walk that deliverance out alongside with. For sure. We really encouraged each other. Thank you, Justin. We really encouraged each other, and I haven't been back, nor will I ever be back, because I think one of the greatest consequences of that was that sometimes when we would make love, there would be the invitation of certain flashes of like what I had seen, like and you know, I'd get good at, you know, just brush it off. Oh my gosh, like no, but even the fact that like I would have that, I wanted to be delivered from that distraction, or I wanted to be able to even just be so completely open with my wife, and not still have sins of the past like invited into the room as well. Not with my character, but just with like my thoughts. Like I wasn't trying to imitate anything, but again, like just things coming almost naturally.
They will naturally just come to your mind, because you had that poured into your mind, right? And it may not even be something that you intentionally did, but even something that was done to you, or, you know, a traumatic experience can come into your mind, even if you don't want it to, even if you got healed from it, even if you got healed from a traumatic experience.
Years after.
It could be years after, and that thing could still come up in your mind and create a barrier in your intimacy with your partner, right? Or even for a moment, it could create a barrier that could prevent you from being as intimate as you could possibly be in every way, with your mind, your body, your heart, your spirit. And that's why I find it so important. That's a huge reason. I'm so glad you brought that up. Why it's important to bring the Holy Spirit into even the bedroom, because
especially America,
because God can truly set you free from having even those flashbacks.
Right. Even you can get full deliverance.
You can, and I can say personally, because I know it. I can say now, where we're at, and at this stage, juncture, 6 years of marriage, I can say that I no longer have any flashes at all. And even if there's the temptation, it's so much easier to resist the devil and him flee.
Yeah, like it's where before it was like a burning snare. Like I felt ensnared,
or even like if it wasn't
now,
a snare,
it's like foolishness,
for sure.
Like in low points, like I won't.
But I just want to say, because sometimes it may not be because it's a snare, but it may be because you know, it comes up and you're angry that it's coming up, or you're angry about that, you know, that moment that's coming up. You know, it's bringing you back to that anger that you've had because of that, or that sadness, or that guilt, or, you know, whatever bad thing that you felt because of that situation or because of that image. You know, it may not always be because you were snared by this thing, or you at one point wanted to feed your flesh with this thing. It could be something that happened to you, and, you know, you're angry when it comes up in your mind, and you could be distracted by that anger, or by that sadness, or whatever it is, you know. But you can be freed from that. You truly can. And that I truly believe that things like that is one of the biggest barriers in intimacy with two spouses. I think it's a huge reason why, you can feel uncomfortable in the bedroom, or you may not fully trust, or you may not be able to fully relax. Being able to fully relax, we talked about this today.
That's different.
Being able to fully relax your body is a huge component to experiencing the best intimacy you possibly can with your partner. And if you cannot fully relax because of things that are popping up in your mind, or even
it may
things
still be exciting, it may be enthralling, it may
Exactly.
be all of those things, and that may even feel like it's enough.
Exactly. It still may
But-
seem like it was a great time, but I know that there's greater levels of intimacy
My
that
God.
you can experience, so much so that intimacy isn't just a great time, but it's an experience beyond having sex with your partner. Okay, I'm gonna say it that way because I know this.
No, you're right.
And truly, I tell you, you invite the Holy Spirit, and it doesn't just mean you're inviting the Holy Spirit in your bedroom. It means preparing, in so many ways. It means preparing throughout the day, and preparing with how you talk to each other, how you treat each other, how you spend time with the Lord with each other, how you reading the Word every day together as married people,
Intimacy fits everywhere.
two people in covenant will greatly affect your intimacy in the best possible way. And it will help you to be on one accord. It will help you to think in the same way. It will help you learn from the Lord himself and from his living word how to treat each other. There's direct instruction of how to be the best wife and the best husband in the word itself. And so you start learning together how to best treat each other, and how to best be on one accord. It will make your intimacy so much greater, just as a lifestyle, that by the time you get to the bedroom, it's gosh, I'm trying to think of the word.
It's natural. It's
natural. That's a good word.
I like the one small thing I'll say is so much of, like, when something becomes a lifestyle, when intimacy becomes a lifestyle and you've lived it everywhere,
Right.
it has literally prepared
Yes.
the experience for soaring heights that you haven't
Yes.
experienced before.
Yes.
It's like preparation is everything for anything that you want to reach its highest plane.
Yes.
And I've been grateful that, like, there have been times where we've just really, like, been in the word and got lost and been curious, and then God starts speaking to us, and like we're sharing different insights with each other, and we're brought to such this place of intimacy in him that when we're alone together in our room, we're with him.
Yes.
And in a space that he's already prepared
Yes.
to go well beyond what
Yes.
we could have set up with roses and candles.
That's it. That's all the way
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
What's number 6, baby?
Okay, number 6.
It's the last one, y'all.
Number 6 is study. This is like exactly what I just said.
Oh.
Studying the word together is the best way to speak the same language.
Well, y'all, that's an instruction.
It truly is. And I just want to say this last point. I dare you to pray together and read the word together right before you get to your bedroom.
That's funny.
I swear it will directly affect how that time goes, and it will probably be your best time.
And that's the thing, though, too, because it will absolutely prune what is unlike him out of you,
Exactly.
so that you can have the experiences that we're talking about.
Those things that become the barrier.
Because the reason why you don't have them is because there's so much junk in the way.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like he got to scoop out the junk.
Yeah.
And replace what you were content with something that'll put you in awe.
Yeah.
All right. Like the last thing I'll say on that was I was shocked when I felt like in pornography, I called it like a snare, like the yearning and the pulling that I felt, that felt like it felt like I couldn't do anything about it. Like it was, I was helpless to this gravity. Right. I felt that towards you in a way that I was like, I did not know this could be holy.
That's good.
I was astounded. I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. It felt unbelievable.
Yeah.
And there's that and more. When you make yourself available to let the Holy Spirit do what he needs to do in you, in your spouse, in your marriage. And even if you're not like with a significant other yet, like in you, for you to experience
intimacy,
all
with the
that
Lord.
he has for you and all that he's called you to be. Like this intimacy fits everywhere. Like I've had to learn that with music. Well, I don't want to move back.
No, that's okay. That's good.
But
that's good.
Yeah, it's essential that you can be intimate everywhere.
Right.
Because that's where you're truly vulnerable. That's where you're truly available to even say what he says to say. There have been times where like you've been in public and like Lord says, say this to that person. And you're like, I don't know them. I don't feel comfortable. And they look a mess. So no. And you know, like this, like I've had those times, and then like, oh, half an hour later where we drive as a family, go see somewhere else, I see that person in the same place and I'm like, oh Lord, why didn't I just listen to what you said? Like I have no idea what I just held. Lord, forgive me and give me he'll give other chances, but there's some opportunity. We live in time. You miss an opportunity, it's gone. So it's like, be prepared for the next. But read the word together, y'all. Yes. Read the word.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
This was a wonderful episode.
It was.
I had fun.
I did too. And I pray it blesses you.
If you're new to the Oriway podcast, welcome.
Yes, we're the Luvans.
We're happy to have you. If you have any testimonies to share, any comments or anything of that nature,
yes, please, guys,
definitely throw it in the comments. We read them, we respond, and it's a blessing to everybody else who's watched too, to see what you have to say.
And subscribe, y'all. I know there was over 150 people that watched our last episode.
Okay. Numbers going up.
But yet our subscribers are still pretty low. So hit that subscribe button. We're going to be coming out with more content. In general, you know, we're on every week, but there may be some weeks we miss because we're parents and we're going through a lot.
Trust every other week, but yes, in general every week.
But in general every week. Yeah. So
and
so
with
glad
that,
you guys are here.
We'll see y'all next week.
Yeah. See y'all next week. Bye.